Well, I'm back to repairing my CRT tester, the Sencore 133, and I just received a day ago a replacement 5 watt 10 ohm resistor which needs to go there. Once that resistor is fixed, I think I can give switching on my tester another go. And well, I hope it will be repaired this time. It was my guess, or well, it is my guess, that one of the capacitors which was mounted into my tester just shorted out. Now I replaced them by brand new capacitors which you see here. Just plain electrolytic capacitors, and I think that will do the trick. Actually, I have to admit I should have done it from the very first time I got my CRT tester. Well, you know, usually when you get a new appliance like this, the first thing you need to do is to check it out to see whether, well, there are things you need to replace or not. And well, in this case, yes, I needed to replace it, or I should have replaced the capacitors. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remount this capacitor, and I'm going to replace this resistor, and then we'll give it a go. You'll see what we're going to use to try out my tester. Fitted new capacitors. These two, let me get my pointer. So hang on. These two here, this big one is a 125 microfarad, 450 volts. This is a 2.2 microfarad, 400 volts. Now those were tacked in place of this. Now this big chap here has been replaced for capacitors which are, oh, I'd say roughly 5 times smaller. So that does show you how technology has changed, doesn't it? Anyway, I changed this electrolytic for those two. And then I changed the other electrolytics you see in the circuitry for, well, I replaced these two. You see? This one is a 20 microfarad, one rated at 175 volts. Yeah. And then this one is a, let me see, 2 microfarad. Yeah. 350 volts. So that's what I did. I replaced those capacitors by more modern ones, and I connected them up. And like I said, I also connected this new resistor up. In fact, if you watch the diagram of the Sencore, what I did was replace these two capacitors, which are around the rejuvenation button, mounted around the rejuvenation button, and were just mounted in front of this, of the cathode of this diode. Yeah, so those two I replaced. Then I also replaced this one over here, which you see here, and which is part of the together with this one. In fact, these two capacitors filter out any transients from the power supply of the Sencore. So I went ahead and I replaced those two too. Now, my guess is the trouble was all located around this this part of the schematic. So yeah, I went ahead and changed them. So okay, let's remount the tube tester, the CRT tester, and then let's see how it performs. Okay, well, I'm ready. This is how the Sencore looks. Obviously, there's nothing to see. Well, at least nothing new, except for the fuse holder, which I built in right here. So that's a new addition to the Sencore tester. Otherwise, the Sencore is exactly like I got it. So I changed a few power resistors and a few capacitors inside of it, and now I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to switch it on now first and give it, like they say, a burn-in test. Yeah, a dry run, and see whether there's nothing that will explode or if there will be any kind of fuse blowing up or whatever. If everything is fine, and then I will use the Sencore to test a part of another project.